sometimes you just need to look at things from a different perspective, perhaps upside down. Come back up the title zone, find out what we're talking about. Hey everybody, Anthony Dodge, Model Train Outsider, the American Outsider, a Knight of the rhomboid table, here with another Fowler Failures video, but with a twist. It has been almost 2 years, let's say a year and a half, since I last worked on the Fowler car, where I had, if you go back and watch the 5 videos, I had some success and failure, success and failure and failure, and I just, once again, after another try, gave up and moved on. Well, it was time to try, mostly because an Australian, my good friend Artie, came in from down under, actually via South Carolina, and he was finally determined to get it working for me, and we have. Let's just cut to the chase. We found that, yes, some of the reed sensors had been acting up. One of the modules I had was clearly shaking. Artie really got under the table to really redo some of my wiring. And just as we moved things around and tested things in ways I hadn't been testing, and Artie knew, well, let's test it this way. And yeah, okay, that's not working. Oh, this is working. Oh, this might be in slightly tilted, and that's what's, just another perspective. And being from Australia, meaning he's actually upside down, he saw things from a different angle than I did. Although he was literally upside down under the table, just like I was when I was doing it. But we have had a major breakthrough, and we have done some, I have now done some changes, but I will show a quick video, and I will not put this video up because we want to do a sort of surprise in the live stream. It is not 100% because we only had 3 working modules. Let me just show you what Artie's done and what I've done, and then give you a quick synopsis of where it's at and where it's going, because we're not done yet. There's a lot to do. All right, to give you a rough idea what we're talking about with the Fowler car. Now, the Fowler car uses a wire. I'm actually using the Wiesmann magnetic strip as opposed to the Fowler metal wire. There's no difference. It's just that the magnetic strip gives you a much wider base for, especially when you're doing tighter turns. But the Fowler car basically really is just that metal line and a car that has a motor in it and a little magnet on a ski that follows the course you set for. In basic, it's easy. There's nothing wrong with the basic Fowler car. But what I'm trying to do is a Fowler bus stop. And that involves turnout motors and then stop motors, which I can't show you. They're underneath. And what happens is there's a thing called a reed sensor here. And you put a magnet on the cars you want to turn. And as the magnet gets near the reed sensor, it activates the reed sensor. The reed sensor sends a signal to the turnout or stop motor and activates it for a split second, just in time for the car to get over it. And the turnout motor creates a little pulse, a little bump up that bumps the car over in the direction of the turnout line. So you always have 2 wires, the straight through and the turnout. And you can turn out right or left, just depends on how you design it. And it will then follow the new course. The stop motor sends out it's an electromagnetic motor, and it sends out an electromagnetic signal that causes the motor inside the car to stop. It sends a EMP pulse, or an EMP, and causes it to stop. Now, these are all controlled by a module. I'll go down and show you that. All right, so the module is this little device here, which they still manufacture, but they no longer sell it. It's been altered, and they no longer sell them individually. You have to buy entire kits. And you can actually see here is the turnout motor, and there's a stop motor, and there's all kinds of
shoddy wiring by me here from the lights to my station. But basically you have the stop motor power supply, the turnout motor power supply, and then the wires from the reed sensors. And then you obviously will have a power supply, which is the red and black here, from wherever you're supplying power. It is a 12-volt system. So anyhow, when you have these reed sensors, and these reed sensors are very touchy. But anyhow, Artie went through, he brought some new reed sensors, and he just went through, we cleaned up some wiring, he got down here, rearranged some things, moved some things. And one by one, we got each motor working. Every motor has tested and worked. The only problem is we have one area where we no longer have a power or a... we don't have the box here. If I come over here in the dark, here was the guy that caused all the problems. Because I originally had all this working, but this was, as you can see, it says the Fowler traffic control system. They now sell this. This is their primary sell for the Fowler car system. They sell this and then a stop motor and the turnout motor. Now only here we have just a turnout motor. But anyhow, this thing has too many dead areas. This thing is fried. And that was part of my problem. So even when I was changing out reed sensors and plugging them into this, that was the problem. So then I went back to the modules, but some of the modules had sections of them fried, which is why I was getting inconsistent results, because Artie was going through and testing things. Okay, this is not working, this is working, this is not working, this is working. So anyhow, I'll go back above where I'm not laying on the floor.
Okay, so the old videos are there, and you can go back and see where I explain what the Fowler car system is, because the basic system is very easy. No airs mandate. You just buy a Fowler car and the wire, and you can provide your own wire as long as it's a metal wire, and you just embed it right below the surface of something. Like if you're making your own road, you just embed it in, smooth it over. You just got to make sure it's, only a millimeter or two under that surface, and then the magnet on the Fowler car will follow it. And the Wiesmann car system is the same, except they use a magnetic tape on their cars. So anyhow, what Artie did was he just went through all the pieces like I had done many times and just tested it. Yes, he found that some things were shorted out, some things were not working properly, where after so many tries and burning out things and buying new, I was just done buying. But as it is, between the stuff I bought when I kind of gave up last year, Artie was able to go through, double check the wiring, go through like, hey, in this case, the wire end was not actually securely fit in, and you can check that a million times. But as you look at this, you have the two reed sensors, or one reed sensor. You need one reed sensor for each motor. You've got to have them plugged into the right place on the module. You have to make sure that the flat end of the reed sensor, and I'll show a picture here to show you what I'm talking about, because they're cylindrical, they're kind of tubes, but they have one flat side. That has to be facing to the oncoming traffic, and then the cars that you want to activate that turn or stop have a little magnet on them, and you have to have the magnet placed exactly. And if that magnet is not placed properly, or if the reed sensor is turned a little bit, or it's too low in the hole or too high, it won't work. It's very fine mechanics. So you have to make sure, and I did that every time I worked on it, is okay, but you hold it in place. I actually use black gum tape to hold it in place, but over time it can slide down. There's just so many things that could go wrong, and that's before you start talking about, okay, all these things wired into the module. So if you're doing the bus stop, where you want the bus to both turn in to the stop and then stop at the stop, you've got your two wires coming off each motor. That's 4 wires. You have 2 wires off of each of the reed sensors. That's 4 more wires. Then you have the power supply wherever it's coming to. Okay, that's 2 more wires. So you can have 10 to 12 wires in one module, and you got to make sure each of them are plugged into the right place and making good contact. Then the power supply, which you've wired in there, you've got to run that. And if you're like me, I have all my modules wired into a central power source, so they're all joined together and tight. Well, in a couple of cases, I already found situations where maybe the wires had worked a bit loose and weren't making good enough contact, and he just went in and retightened them. And it's stuff that maybe the last time I worked on one thing, I didn't check the other, and it's just one of those things, because after you fight it so many times, you just kind of, you just get frustrated and you don't want to mess with it anymore. But I wanted it going, so Artie went in and just kind of stripped it back to the beginning and just tested every single wire, every single piece again, which I did do. Okay, it's not like I wasn't diligent. But something could have happened while I'm working on this. A wire here could have unloosened. But yes, we did find dead read sensors, and that the main traffic module, which I wasn't using except as a power supply for one turnout, at least the area I'm using, is dead on it, which I think was a problem from the beginning. And that it probably fried several of my motors, which over the attempts the last couple of years is where things really started to go badly wrong. I mean, you got to remember, it was 2020 that I had this all working, and I had it working for a couple of weeks until I decided I'm going to install the traffic control system. And then everything went wrong, and I couldn't figure it out, so I let it set for a few months, and then I went back to it, couldn't do it. Finally, in 2024, Joyce encouraged me to get this going so I would get to work on the rest of the layout, because I've always said this is what was holding me back. And so we wrote the blank check, and I bought all new motors and all new read sensors. And apparently, at least one of the new packs of read sensors I bought last year, the read sensors were in fact dead, because Artie was plugging them in and testing it with the magnet going right around it, and it was not popping the motor. So, okay, that was part of my problem last year. I bought new but dead read sensors. Fortunately, he brought some spares, so the spares go in, and lo and behold, we've got things working. I still need one more module. I need one more module, and as I was saying when I was on the table, these have been not officially discontinued. They're discontinued. They used to sell the module by itself. They've got a new module, similar but different, that they sell as part of this. But they don't sell these pieces individually. You buy an all-new bus system that gives you the motor and the two motors, the stop motor and the turnout motor, and read sensors and all that. But getting just that module, at least this particular module, they've upgraded, but the new module is double the price of the old. Fortunately, I did find a shop that has the modules pretty much, the bus stop kit, about $20 more than they used to be. But I'm going to work my way into getting it. But at least right now, we have everything that we can have working. And the reason I'm not rushing to buy that other module is because Joyce came up with an idea that would actually eliminate needing that module. And we're just going to leave it at that. We're hoping, we don't know if we'll get it done before Artie leaves here next week, but we're already at every individual motor has been tested. We know they're working. Every individual read sensor has been tested. We know they're working. I just don't have enough modules to power the whole system. I was hoping we could use that big traffic module because it can operate as one individual module. I just got to find the right sensors on it that might still be working, because it does seem to have some juice flowing through it. It's just finding out which combination of sections are not burned out and plugging the right things in the right places, and then it would actually act as a module, because the whole idea of that big module was to replace all the little modules, one big one instead of 4 little ones scattered all over. But and maybe it's quite possible that was just a bad big module to begin with. that there were things wrong with it, and it created some of the shorts I was fighting. Thing is, I eliminated it and was going back to little modules and still couldn't get things going. But again, already got under there and it's like, well, you know, this thing's a little frayed all of a sudden. This wire seems to be a bit too loose in here. Stuff that I thought I checked, stuff that I know I checked, but all sorts of weird things happen. So anyhow, let me give you a look-see at the success we've had. But again, this video is going to come out after the live stream, so you will already hopefully have seen it in the live stream. But I'll also explain some of the other changes I've made as well. So back to more on-site video. All right, I've got this on wide angle and showing you, and you're going to see all the changes, but I'll come back and explain them. But where you see some white, this is white caulk and filling in the old grooves. This is where my curves originally ran from the time I first designed this all the way through. There's another set down there I've refilled in, and a little section there I adjusted. I'll go by it. But one of the things we found is that it's very difficult to take this tape. This is Fowler tape, so it is designed, if you're not using the road system, or even if you are using their wooden road slats, this fits over it and makes it look like real road. Okay, so you know, kind of cool. But they don't make the big arching curves of any size, so they do make basically 45 or 90 degree curves, and I cut them in half to make 45s. And remeasured, so I've cut new lines here. But originally the bus would have come up here, it goes around, and then here's the first turnout motor, and there's the reed sensor that the magnet has to activate, and then that immediately activates the motor, and it bumps the car down into the bus turnout. And as the bus comes down into the turnout, it will pass two reed sensors. This one actually activates the stop motor, and this one activates the turnout. So it turns on the stop motor, hits the turnout, and it goes in, and it will stop here, and it will sit for a few seconds, picking up, dropping off passengers, and then go back out. And basically they made a figure 8. They would come out here, and I had to readjust this. I'll explain this. Originally they came out here and into the bigger loop. That was fine. It was a smooth enough curl that it could get back on the track and come here to this turnout and then go in, and then there's a stop on the other side. There's the turnout motor, and then you can't really see the stop motor right there where my finger's trying to point. This is the one that doesn't have a module. This one is not working at the moment because it's not plugged into anything. But anyhow, to fit these 90s, I had to cut the curves down to here, and what we have is a hard 45 and a hard 40, well, a hard 90 and a hard 90. And I was a little concerned that that would create problems. Well, it really hasn't. The only problem it did was that coming back out here, when the bus drops off here and comes back out this way, it was too tight an angle going into that curve this way. It couldn't handle it. So what I did was I just finished laying a new curve here that gently flows in, and then it gets into this, comes as a straight road here, which is more realistic to the road flow than these bigger arching curves I had. And then it flows back. So really the bus makes a figure 8. But something else that happened I'll share with you. Delmenhorst had this big, slightly off-kilter canopy here. Well, as you can see, it wouldn't allow me to put the actual 2-lane road in, because in reality, one of the things with compression is that the space from the bus station to the train station is much wider than I show here. I mean, it's still a 1 minute walk, but here would be the equivalent of a 5-second to 10-second walk. There's a bit more of a gap there. It's from the middle of the bus terminal to cross the street and get into the station. It's more like a 20 or 30-second walk. But yeah, compression. Well, I just learned Delmenhorst removed these. They don't exist anymore. There was one on each side. They took them out. I don't know if they're going to put them back. But as of right now, they took them out. And since they're not there, I can go ahead, and this is not installed completely. This is just taped down with Scotch tape just to give an idea of where we're trying to go, because there's a 2-lane road, and then there's a series of
planters, cement box planters and trees right here, right next to the road that separate the road from the bus terminal. So I now can do what I always wanted to do and was giving up on, is I can put in a second lane so I can have main traffic flowing an outer loop, and then the bus traffic doing the inner loop and turning into the bus. And that way I don't have to worry about, if I wanted multiple cars going, oh, they might crash because I was only going to have one lane here instead of the actual 2 lanes. This is Wittgenstrasse. But now I can have 2 lanes. I can have static traffic, or I can have cars moving, whichever I decide to do that day. So I could have an outside, but I will be putting just the Fowler car wire. And as I get more Fowler cars, I will create some traffic flow moving that way. I may even eventually in here, or actually right there, cut in the crosswalk, because I actually have the traffic lights. I'll be installing the traffic lights, but I can install them with a Fowler motor kit, and I actually have the car stopping at traffic lights. So there's potential to really expand it and make it more realistic. But for now, we just want the buses going here. So I have right here a bus. Now, eventually, this bus's shell will be replaced with the shell on this bus. They're basically the same bus. The shells are attached slightly differently because one is from one company, one's from another, but that's easily done. And these are actual Delmenhorst City buses. So anyhow, I'm going to set this guy, and there you can see the little shoe with there's a little magnet on the ski. It's kind of hard to see. You might see it in front of my thumb there. We will put that on the wire, and it's going to follow. And here's the new turn. Now, this is not very smooth, so occasionally it jams up on here, but now it's going, and it just activated the turnout. It's going in, activates the turnout, stops. Starts, off it goes, and that will all be smoothed out when I get the roadway in. And then out and around there. So that we have that working, we just don't have this working. So for now, they'll just run a straight course through. And then once again, it runs around, and every motor is working. Pulls in, stops. And off it goes. Now, I will smooth some of this out because you can see I had to create a bit of a bump. There's a long explanation for that. I don't want to go into it now, but it's because originally this was all built and designed for the Fowler car. It was all designed for the Fowler car track that I originally had laid out. If you go back to the videos from last year or 3 years ago when I first was doing it. And so I just need to smooth these out with some caulk, and it won't bump like you see it doing. But right now, everything is working that we have power to. The only thing not working is the turnout motor and stop motor there, because we don't have a module to plug it into. And we are going to, before Artie leaves, we're going to try multiple parts on that big module and see if we can find sections that are working that will have it going. But right now, this is as great as I could be. Again, when I first did it, I had everything working, and that's when I decided I wanted to make it fancier and digital, because that's why you get the big traffic control module, because you can add all these things. And there's a little bit here. This is just stuff I filled in and replaced yesterday. I have to sand this down, and then eventually I will have road tape, this road tape, including curves, that will go over this and smooth it out anyhow. But right now, it is running like a beast, and I couldn't be happier. So I really have a lot of great thanks, because Artie, coming in new to this, did not have the levels of frustrations, and his goal was just start from the beginning and check every individual wire, and then specifically test everything with multimeters and that, make sure, okay, this is definitely dead, this isn't. So just a lot of credit for him for going back under the table where I would have said, okay, I know what this is. I know what that is. He just started it up and said, boom, we're going to start it all over. So, and now it's working more than I could even, I would be happy if this is all it did. And so we've had a rule the last couple of days, which is don't mess with what's working. All I had to do was adjust the tape because I couldn't fit cars in, but the adjustments we've made and the work Artie's done now allows me, you can see I've drawn some blue lines in here. I'm actually going to adjust them a little higher. And that's going to be where the Fowler car wire goes in to run the outer lane traffic, because the buses will be on the inner lane and then go into the bus stop. So this is absolutely cool. So back to me for a wrap up.
Okay, so there you have it. The Fowler Road system, my little hybrid touch-ups, is working. After 5 years, we are the most advanced since I had it working in the basic system. It's there. Now it's clean up and then put final bits on. So there'll be 1 or 2 more videos in this because I've already got the road tape ready to go in. All the road tape you saw placed is just temporary. This is peel and stick, and it sticks forever. And then we have to make sure we get it all in and make sure the roads are straight. We'll start with the curves and then go from the curves, make sure the curves are positioned, because the curves are kind of tight. You really got to put the inner lane towards the inside and the outer lane wire towards the outside, and that way the cars will not bump each other if they happen to go into curves at the same time. But we can now have 2 running circuits. I could have 2 buses running opposite sides of each other, and I can add Wiesmann car and buses into this with their programming. So this is why it's a nice hybrid system. With Wiesmann already, you can use Fowler cars in the Wiesmann system. They won't do as much, but you can also use Wiesmann cars in the Fowler system. And with my hybrid system here, it just improves it a little bit more. So the big deal about this is not only is this now fixed, and it is fixed. We know the remaining sensors and motors work. We just need a module to plug them into. I'm going to try the big module and see if we can find some working sections on it. And if we get that working, I'll pop that in video, say, bam, it's good. Otherwise, I will buy, and it'll take a few days to get the other module. Unfortunately, most businesses don't have the older module in the kit. It gives you another stop motor, another turnout motor, another loop of wire, and the module, and the reed sensors, which is always good to have spares because we've gone through them all now. But I have to order it from Germany, which means I'll get a 50% surcharge on importing it from Germany. There's no American shop that has this in stock, and the people on eBay are charging double, and in one case triple the original price, or the price, because my shop Lipa still has a couple of them in store, and I'm actually toying with the idea of buying both, but we're good here. I can't tell you how excited I am. We are good here. Watching that bus pull in, and the only one it's not pulling in is because they're not powered. And some people, including Artie, have said, well, and Joyce have said, well, could we power it into, just plug it all in into another sensor? Well, unfortunately, yes, that would work, but it would keep activating both sides. It would activate the one it's going to, but it also activate the other one. And it might activate the other one at the wrong time, because if I'm running 2 buses, you don't want to mess them up like that. So it's better to get a separate module in there. So, yeah, this is the most advanced I've been on this in 5 years. And I have more trust for it now than I've ever had. I shouldn't say that. And at least now I have the lesson of leave it alone. Don't try to make it fancier and better than it is. Leave it alone. I didn't have to buy anything new. Artie brought some spare reed sensors. We're good. And we have done this 3 times in the last couple of days where we just grab the bus and let it run and see what it's doing. Today was actually the first day I tried it earlier before I made this video, where it's coming out on the one side and that angle was just too tight. It couldn't handle it, so I readjusted it and gave it a smoother transition into the out lane. And yeah, working. So this is great. We still got a couple of things, because obviously I will do a video when I have all the other line in and all the road tape down, so that it looks like a proper road, and the bus. I'll get all that stuff in early to middle next week, which is about the time we have Artie through next week. So hopefully we will have this by either my next live stream or his Saturday wacky weekend, because I think he's still due to do that here. We're gonna have we'll have that, if not all done, we'll have it all working, and we just got to get the tape in and make sure the tape doesn't interfere with anything. So anyhow, I'm babbling, but I can't help it. I'm excited. Until the next time I see you, I will say Auf Wiedersehen, tschüss, and happy trains and Fowler cars. Take care, everybody.